What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome to my review of Resident Evil 8 Village. For those of you who want to read the article, you guys can find that in a link down below where it says articles, reviews, that kind of thing. But this is the video version. That way people who don't want to read it can still hear the review and everything like that, but just in a video format. So this all starts somewhere. The Umbrella Corporation, Resident Evil, the entire story starts somewhere. Through the mountains, into the woods, across the Valley of Shadows, into Chaos's arms, the journey into the world of Resident Evil reminds us that evil lurks in the most unsettling, unsuspecting ways. There are several things in this game that I really want to look at in this review, mainly focusing on the three things. 1, the psychology of the village. 2, the transformation of the story of Resident Evil throughout the saga in as brief of a time span as I can possibly make it, and Resident Evil as a horror game and how it rates as a horror game in this generation. In this new age, when all is said and done, this is Resident Evil. This is an ever-expanding, ever-changing world of plot twists, diverse characters, and long-lived memories that are immortalized yet ever-changing. Let's go to where it all started. Resident Evil 8 Village is by far one of the most interesting and diverse installments of the entire Resident Evil franchise that I've ever come across. Ever. This game holds a lot of content, not just in the terms of the gameplay, but in the lore, the psychology, the diversity of characters. The village alone can be dissected, put apart, brought back together, taken apart again. Like, it's just such a diverse thing in general. I feel to dive into this game review is a bit of a journey because primarily I want to discuss a few points on the village first, considering the fact that whenever I go into the psychology of things, I don't just talk about diagnoses and this, hypotheses. I talk about more psychology combined with philosophy, more of kind of like theories of why the game is the way it is, you know? So when I go into this, I want you guys to keep in mind, these are all opinions. These aren't facts, okay? Obviously. The first point I want to make is that we always come back to the village. We, playing as Ethan, are trying to save our daughter, Rose, who has been captured by, well, for all intents and purposes, the OG, if you will, of the T-Virus. The one who gave birth, who planted the seed of the idea of the Umbrella Corporation to Oswald E. Spencer. The village kind of acts like this catalyst, if you will, to Ethan's growth throughout the game. Now, the second point I want to bring across is that the village morphed according to Ethan's progress. And you're probably thinking, Ariel, well, duh. But hear me out on this. Each time I would get closer and closer to reaching Rose, the village would seem to shift and change. New things would be there. Now, I get that there are, you know, rams and goats of warding and everything like that, but okay, genuinely that creeped me out. I don't know about you guys, but just randomly seeing a goat there, I don't know about you, but I was kind of creeped out, okay? For me, when seeing this growth and this change through the game that Ethan encounters and goes through for all intents and purposes, it was clear to me that this was an indicator that it was this change within Ethan as well, like not just the surroundings, but it was a change in how Ethan was perceiving everything, how he was looking at things. And it's really cool when you see not only a change in the map of the game, but you see a change in the characters. Now, the final thing I want to mention on this portion for the psychology of the village is the final escape from the village kind of mimicked how we, or well, at least how I felt during the my playthrough of Resident Evil, the first game, the remake of the first one from 1996, right? Of how I felt escaping from the mansion into the laboratory. Right. So there is a sense of accomplishment that you feel whenever you're going from the mansion into the laboratory of Resident Evil 1. There's a sense of accomplishment. There is still a fight left in these hands almost. And it's you know, it's like we clawed our way from hell and back. And it gives us this, you know, kind of thing of where we've experienced this fight or flight basically from the very first game up until now. And these characters grew with us. For over 20 years, we've seen them grow, mature, and develop their own sense of self and purpose with each game. By the end of the game, by the middle of the game, depending on the character that you play as, you get this kind of epiphany, if you will. You see this epiphany happen within your character. The epiphany of all the characters is that I am more. I can be more. In a very grandiose way, obviously, because they're escaping from, you know, exploding mansions and miraculous creatures. It's much more than what your average person would have to deal with, honestly. So the next part I kind of want to go into with you is going to be a bit of a stretch, but hey, that's what hypotheses are for, right? So check this out. Ethan is the village. The village is Ethan. The village is of Ethan's own making, and this is kind of my theory on the entire thing, of where take away the concept of the game and you have a father who is literally going through a mental hell to find his daughter. Battling inner demons, seeing other people's demons along the way, it kind of reminds me of James from Silent Hill 2, except Ethan isn't a horrible human who killed his wife. In the series of Resident Evil, we've seen growth, we've seen change, experiments, a lot of interesting ways characters are interpreted and handled in terms of their stories, lore, and how they fit into this universe as a whole. With Resident Evil, for the most part, again, I say for the most part, the characters had a steady flow and rhythm, if you will. Chris, for example, aged with us. He aged with us. That son of a bitch aged with us. I have been playing Resident Evil games since I was 10, and he actually got older. Like, Chris Redfield grew alongside with all of us. He grew alongside of us as the brother, the hero that we all aspired to be. We also grew up with Jill, Ada, Claire, just to name a few, And the thing is that adding new characters and such, it adds to the diversity. It adds to the authenticity of how the games are constructed, how they are so vibrant, and how they actually reach out and touch people's hearts. It's a very wonderful thing to be able to add in new characters like Lady Dimitrescu, Heisenberg, Donna Beneviento. It's really beautiful to see these new characters come in, and it doesn't disrupt the flow, right? It doesn't make things awkward or stagnant. It actually goes really well with the game if you think about it. All these new characters and different kind of story themes, if you will, added to this world and made it even more seamless. I feel like the part where we go into the dollhouse for Donna Beneviento is one of the best parts of the game, if not the best part of the game. That is true psychological horror right there, my friends. That is something of where I look at that part and I feel like I did when I was 10 years old, when I was sitting down playing on the GameCube and just, seeing all these different rooms and puzzles and everything like that. That puzzle in the game, in the part where you have to, I'm not going to explain the puzzle because even though this review is already filled to the brim with spoilers, I don't want there to be any more if I can avoid it. So when you are in the house trying to get out of Donna Beneviento's house, you are experiencing a puzzle like it was back in the old days with old-fashioned Resident Evil. You're experiencing a genuine good puzzle there, and I love the fact that the answers weren't just given to you. They weren't just there. You had to figure it out, and I loved that so much. I took my time with it. I was able to just sit there and be completely immersed with it, and I love that they did that with this game. I love that they brought back this sense of old times brought to the new age, if you will. And with Ethan's daughter brought into the mix, it adds another type of seamless flow that will hopefully be as impactful in the 9th game that it was in this one. Another actually major change that they did to the franchise, it started in 7, was adding first person. I know that so many people are going to be like, oh, well, first person sucks. It doesn't. Actually, okay, if you really pay attention to how it's constructed versus third person and everything, you will see that it's actually, again, a natural progression of how the games are supposed to go. Because yeah, third person's cool. I love third person. Third person is my favorite way to play a game, but first person has its places too. First person is just another way to explain a story, and first person isn't supposed to mean life or death. It's just about being literally another detail in a video game that is supposed to expand and explain the story in a way that maybe third person could never do. When put incorrectly, first person can actually make the game way more impactful and way more anxiety inducing. I can tell you right now that this game literally I will say it literally made me feel like I was 10 years old again playing the original Resident Evil. It made me feel anxious. It made me feel like I had to run away fast from certain things. It was great. I love that. I love that for me. I haven't felt that in such a long time with the Resident Evil title, and I felt my heart just pumping fast. I felt that the game series, when it started, it came with a mission, it came with a statement. And I feel like that mission statement never changed. It never changed. It just only grew. The story was written well. I feel like they got new writers because this story was way better in this game than it was in Resident Evil 7. I don't know if that's just me, but that's the way it felt, because I felt like there was more of a cohesive flow with the story, especially the notes. The notes were... Listen. The notes were amazing in this game, okay? Some will say this game is horror. Some will say this game is fast-paced and action. Some will say this game is a film, and I swear to everything unholy, I will find you. In my view, this is what horror is. I will reference the house of Donna Beneviento once more. This is exactly what psychological horror is supposed to be. Showing you the answer but not really giving it to you. That's the glory of psychological horror. You really have to work for it. And the thing is that whenever you're going into a psychological horror game, the boss battles may be easy, but that's only because they want you to listen and pay attention to the story that much more. The game in terms of classical psychological horror is doing all the right things and taking all the right steps. It makes you scared in the moments when it's right. And the thing is, it lulls you into this false sense of security at every point. Resident Evil claws you into the story, okay? It claws you in. It makes you think that you're gonna get out, but no. Just when you think you are out, the unnerving suspicion of creatures coming back from the dead creep up your spine and make you second-guess every step you took. This game created a world of beauty, dynamism, complex characters, true horror, and captured the magic. Like I said, back when in the early 2000s when I played the game for the first time, I never thought I'd be able to feel that magic ever again. The arms of the Umbrella Corporation are always open, ready to embrace with a syringe, ready to plunge into the unsuspecting heart. This game for me brought back so many themes also from past Resident Evil games like Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Code Veronica X, and it gave me the hope that the past will never be forgotten. So that's my review on Resident Evil 8 Village. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I give it a 10 out of 10 coffee mugs. Like, that was just brilliant. That gameplay, the way that the horror was incorporated, oh gosh, it was beautiful. Just as a little update, because I know that we have some new people here who might not know what exactly I do with game walkthroughs and everything on this channel. It used to be where I would do game walkthroughs all the time and everything, but for me, for my mental health, for just keeping my sanity now, since I have so much other work to do, I do client work because I am a freelance video editor. I also do marketing, and I also am a writer. I do writing basically every single day, not only for articles, but I am working on a psychological horror book called Patient Name Erica. So my time is pretty much filled to the brim. So if there is a game that I really want to play, I will play it on the channel, but it won't be like, you know, back in the day where, you know, every single game that I got I would play on the channel. That's just draining for me right now. So I play the games that I see fit, that I think will make a really great impact on this channel, because let's face it, my game playthroughs don't get as many views as the kinds of videos where I sit down, do game reviews, gaming news, you know, skits, psychologically gaming, whatever it may be. You know, my game walkthroughs just don't get that many views, and I'm okay with that. The game walkthroughs at the end of the day are just a pure passion project for me. So yeah, right now you guys won't be seeing any other games on the channel, so the next game that I am going to be reviewing, and I'm actually in the middle of reviewing, is Undertale. I have not played that before, and I'm very excited because whenever I started getting into it, it already started making me feel in the feels, and I don't want to feel the feels. And then after I review Undertale, I'm going to be going into my very first Final Fantasy game. I have never played Final Fantasy before. I'm very excited to be going into Final Fantasy 15 as my first Final Fantasy game. And before I also wrap things up, just to let you know, you guys can get my reviews early on Patreon. It is a $15 a month tier of where you guys get these about a week or so early before they actually release on the channel and on my website. So yeah, I think that was all the stuff I needed to mention. I don't think there's anything else. Anything else? Anything else, Brayden? Are you good up there? That's it for me. If you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell down below, because I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Stay casually nerdy, you guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!